Bipartisan cooperation was on display this fifth week of the Iowa General Assembly. But ideological divisions also surfaced as lawmakers debated school funding and tenure. Thursday, a Senate subcommittee recommended passage of a bill that would end tenure at Iowa's three state public universities. Keith Saunders and Rachel Boone, representing the State Board of Regents, defended the current tenure policy.
This bill, if enacted, would be one of the most harmful pieces of legislation that could affect the universities. And that's not just hyperbole. And the reason we believe that is that the universities are, at its core, a collection of people. And we seek to have the best people and professors possible on our campuses. Iowans deserve that. You expect that out of us, that we hire exemplary professors, teachers, and researchers. And we've striven over years to do that. These institutions have taken generations to build. Quality is something that accumulates over time and can be lost in an instant. And a bill like this affects the quality of the institutions.
I want to make it really clear, tenure is not a lifetime appointment for any given faculty member. Tenure is an employment agreement we have with them. It has some due process associated with it that helps us manage when there are issues that need to be addressed with faculty that might be things that lead to termination for the same reasons that are noted in this bill. Just cause, program discontinuance, financial exigency, all of those avenues are open to us within the tenure process.
In your mind, what are acceptable grounds to terminate a professor?
In terms of the grounds, many of them are spelled out in our faculty handbooks and policy manuals. There are things that relate to academic and research misconduct, inappropriate relationships with students, policy violations of university policy, board policy, state, any criminal activities. Those are all spelled out very specifically in our faculty handbooks.
Well, one of the concerns we have is the what in our minds appears to be pretty coercive behavior from some professors who expect that their students will conform to their political ideology. That's not something we want to see. It's certainly not something we're going to tolerate. So in those instances, how are those types of situations handled?
In the very specific instances that have come up of late, certainly I think there's been well documented and we've discussed a lot about what many of those steps were that were taken. That would be taken anytime we observe these situations. We only know about the ones that get reported. So when they are reported, we address them immediately.
I close with this, and this is from a Wall Street Journal article back in July of 2020, written by John Ellis. I can let you look up his credentials, but he's a retired professor emeritus at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And he says this: universities used to be places where the major political and social issues of the day could be researched and debated. The results of this careful thought and analysis were used to make political debates in the wider world more realistic and better informed. All that has now been turned on its head. The campus offers not a reasoned corrective to partisan passions, but fierce, one-sided advocacy of dangerous and destructive ideas. And then he says this, and this speaks to me: taxpayers, lawmakers, and donors need to wake from the spell cast by American universities' past glory. Only then can they summon the courage to withdraw funding and force the necessary change, replacing faux academic political activists with real academic thinkers, people who care about original thought, not peddling an ideology. With that, that's my final comments.
I would note, though, I'm looking here at an article in Inside Higher Ed, a recognized academic publication, which indicates that there's substantial research saying that professors do not impose their political views on the students. You pass this bill, all of our junior faculty leave because the way the bill is written, it denies them the opportunity of getting tenure, even if they've invested 4 or 5 years of service at our research universities. They would not be able to bring in new people. The people we would hire would just be the people who aren't good enough to get tenure someplace else. This is a terrible bill. It would destroy the universities.
Also on Thursday, the House passed the supplemental state aid to public schools with some Democratic support. Republican Representative Cecil Dolacek was the floor manager.
It is an amendment that allocates roughly $36.5 million new dollars. It is part of a package that we're putting together to go to schools. There are some other funds that we're looking at, quite possibly that will go further. I hope this is not the end, and I don't think it is. 2.4% is close to the figure that the House agreed on originally. At 2.5, some would say that was not enough. There are a lot of us in this chamber on both sides of the aisle who would like to have a little bit more, given the budget constraints that we were put with and what was coming down the line in putting the whole budget package together. We felt that this was a figure that we could live with within a budget, would give school districts some certainty. One of my priorities has always been to get this done within the first 30 days of the legislative session.
However, several Democrats still expressed concern about the reduction of aid to scores of school districts.
I understand that this has been a rough year. My issue here is that we have a surplus of millions of dollars, and we are lowering funding for 137 schools. 42% of them are going to be on budget guarantee. That's 31 more than last year because of this bill.
Have you all now voted? Clerk, close machine. The House pay attention to results of the vote. Those voting aye 55, no 36, absent or not voting 9. The bill having received a constitutional majority is declared to be passed the House. The objection is the title. Chair hears none. Title is agreed to.
Earlier in the week, Republican Representative Brian Losee of Polk County proposed the first of 3 measures that received unanimous bipartisan approval.
House File 259 is a bill that prohibits employers from requiring employees or coercing employees through incentives to allow microchips to be implemented into the employees' bodies.
I think that this is a good bill for Iowa workers, and I enjoyed working on the subcommittee on this, and I urge the body to support the bill. Thank you.
Have you all now voted? The clerk will close the machine and record your vote. The House will pay attention to the results of the vote. Those voting aye, 90. Those voting no, 0. Absent or not voting, 10.
Week 6 begins next Monday, February 15. Bills scheduled for debate include peace officer sexual misconduct, regulation of rental housing, the Iowa lottery, and use of audio-only health care services.